Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast.
You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today, we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And we're back. We're looking at what happens in the age of Mamdani. It's a whole different landscape for Jews living in New York City. How should we respond? Mort Klein, National President of the Zionist Organization of America, joins us. Mort, good to have you back again. I know it's a whole different landscape. First of all, did you anticipate that ZOA and Mamdani would win the mayoralty of New York?
Look, as long as Sliwa was in the race, every poll showed him way ahead. So it never looked like there was any chance that he would lose unless Sliwa left. And Sliwa, who had zero chance of winning, zero, helped Mamdani out by staying in the race. It's really outrageous. I mean, is Sliwa hostile to Jews? Why would he do this? Well, how is it to his benefit? No. So yes, it looked all along that he was going to win. The polls showed overwhelming support for him. But he only got 50% of the vote. Half the people of New York did not vote for him, despite the fact that he spent tens of millions of dollars on this campaign. So it's deeply troubling that 2 decades after 9/11, when 19 Muslims destroyed 2 major buildings in New York and murdered 3,000 people, including many Jews, that New York would elect a radical, extremist, anti-Semitic, hateful Muslim. And the issue is his position, not that he's a Muslim, but
he's openly anti-Israel. He's campaigned on that, and people voted for him because he's anti-Israel.
But something isn't talked enough about. What enabled him to win was the demographics have changed. Obama and Biden, their intentional open border policy to bring Democrats into America, brought almost 1 million Muslims into New York. 10 years ago, there was less than 100,000 Muslims in New York. Now there's almost 1 million. Without that changed demographic, and without the fact that large numbers of conservative citizens of Israel left New York, who would have voted against him, the demographics have changed, and that's why he was able to win. We have to understand that. This is one of the most heinous policies, this bringing in people, unvetted people, many of whom are criminals. And I really have to attack Hayas as playing a role here. Hayas, which used to be the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, changed their name Hayas because the majority of the people they help are Muslims. Muslims they've helped bring them into America. And I'm not saying this as somebody who's anti-Muslim. I'm anti-Jew hatred. And the polls all show that 75 to 95% of Muslims hate Jews. That's why I'm against Muslims coming to America. And Hayas helped in this program. They're a disgrace to the Jewish people.
But we're not talking about illegal immigrants. We're talking about legal immigrants to New York.
That's legal Muslims who hate Jews. This is ADL's own poll show that the overwhelming, almost unanimous number of people in the Muslim world have enormous enmity toward Jews in Israel. They're taught this from the age one, from the beginning of their life, and that's why a guy like Mamdani can win. And of course, it was shocking that 15 to 35% of the Jews voted for him. There's different polls. We don't know what the real number is, but even 15%. Why wasn't it less than 5%? How can any Jew vote for somebody who hates Jews openly, who refused to say, I will not condemn the phrase that calls for the murder of every Jew. I won't condemn that phrase, globalist intifada. I won't support Israel as a Jewish state. I won't do it. By the way, this is news. A document was just intercepted by a news agency, which shows a whole plan by Mamdani to be fighting and attacking Israel. They want to take all city funds from any Israel bonds. They want to withdraw city money from any banks with Israel ties. They want to end contracts with companies that are connected to Israel. They want to ban any Israeli products in the so-called city-run groceries. They don't want any Israeli products. They want to investigate real estate agents for what they claim are illegal sales in Judea and Samaria. They want to remove nonprofit status from charities that raise funds for the IDF. They want to dismantle the New York City's Israel Economic Council and terminate New York Police Department cooperation with Israeli police and military. And they want to arrest Israeli officials and soldiers for war crimes if they come to New York. This is heinous. This is the most vicious Jew-hating document I've seen in America outside of some fringe neo-Nazi group. This guy's the mayor of a city which have over 1 million Jews, and look at the document. And by the way, is this something that's important for New York City? What is he doing? Why is he doing this? He should be helping the city be a better place, not doing something to hurt Jews in the Jewish state. It's very frightening. And by the way, we shouldn't be surprised. His mother has been known as a vicious Jew hater who has not allowed her movies, she's a movie maker, to be filmed in Israel. She won't allow them there. So she's been boycotting Israel on her own. And his father, who teaches at Columbia, also has made vicious anti-Israel statements. This is where he comes from.
Well, his mother, by the way, is funded by Qatar and by George Soros. And his father also got money from North Korea for some of his research. And in his book in 2020, where he talks about the fact that America learned that Nazis learned how to kill Jews from America because they were involved in genocide. He dedicated his book to his son, the Shvir revolutionary. His wife is well known as being anti-Israel on Instagram. You can find it. So
I didn't know that.
Yes. So he's in that complete atmosphere of anti-Israelism. Even though Mort is trying to make a wedge and saying he's not anti-Jewish, he's anti-Israel. Look at them anti-Semitism, but he'll attack Israel. He's trying to make that distinction, which, by the way, the right's trying to do the same thing too. That's a new form of anti-Semitism.
Let me tell you something. If you are anti-Italy, do you think you might dislike Italians? If you're anti-Spain, do you think you might dislike Spanish people? If you're anti the Jewish state, you hate Jews. It's ridiculous. Of course he hates Jews. And by the way, he sponsored legislation to not allow charity being given to United Hatzalah, who saves Jewish lives. What does that have to do with Israel? They're saving Jewish lives from terrorism. And he's authored legislation to try and stop that. He didn't succeed, but he's attempted to stop it. And he started the BDS movement at his university and Students for Justice in Palestine. He founded that at Bowdoin University in Maine. He's done everything in his life to attack Jews. And by the way, when he was a rapper, he praised and his love for the Holy Land Foundation 5 in the rap song, praising them. And they were convicted of funneling $12 million to Hamas years ago. And he writes a song praising them. This is a very bad and evil man. I don't care how big his smile is. He's an evil man with a big smile.
Well, he was a settlement. He actually sponsored Free Palestine rallies, which I believe was funded by taxpayers. It was when he was in office, which bears looking into. Wow. So he certainly, let's put it this way, he's honest. We know exactly who he is from the get-go. He didn't hide it. He didn't camouflage it.
How could Jerry Nadler, Congressman Nadler, a Jew from the Upper West Side, who went to Crown Heights Yeshiva, whose family is Orthodox, publicly supporting him, praising him, taking him to synagogues to speak and saying he's a good man. You don't have to worry about him. Jerry Nadler.
Well, you have, like you said, you have between 15 and 30% of Jews that support Mamdani, and it's an outrage. But the fact is, though, is that there are people who need to be educated. They don't have really, listen, a lot of these Jewish groups have no real Jewish association except the fact that they were born Jewish. That's the problem.
And yet we have, that's Jerry Nadler, yet we have a Catholic representative who's among the best friends Israel's ever had, is going to be speaking and honored at our dinner this weekend. Sunday night at our dinner, we're honoring Elise Stefanik, who's well known for taking apart the heads of universities who did not protect Jews and help promote anti-Semitism. She's a great woman. She's not Jewish, and she's going to be at our dinner, along with the ambassador from Israel to the U.S., Ambassador Yechiel Leiter, Ambassador Danny Danone to the UN, Israel to the UN, and the great Leo Terrell, the head of fighting anti-Semitism under Trump, are all going to be honored at our dinner. By the way, there's a few tickets left. If anyone's interested, they can call my office, if I may say, 212-481-1500, 212-481-1500. This is an incredible night. And by the way, Yechiel Leiter, the ambassador from Israel to the U.S., is the greatest orator I've ever heard. There's no one who speaks
better than Bibi.
I think so. I think so. Bibi's pretty good, but I think Yechiel is actually the best I've ever heard. So that'll be a treat just to hear him speak.
Our guest, Mort Klein, National President of the Zionist Organization of America. So now you lay the ground. You say he's bad, he's anti-Semitic, he's anti-Israel. So what are Jews supposed to be doing more? What can we be doing?
Well, we'll be watching him very carefully. Anything he does that's hostile to Israel or Jews, we'll be publicly condemning him. We'll be writing op-eds. We're putting out press releases. We'll go on TV and radio like your show and condemn him and try to pressure him. And we'll be urging other Jewish groups to do the same. And we'll be urging churches to do the same. Because Muslims, these radical Muslims not only hate Jews, they hate Christians. The Quran teaches them to hate any non-Muslims. So we're going to make that clear to the non-Muslim community in New York to join us to condemn him and point out anything he's doing to put pressure on him and expose him. And we'll also be talking, and we're already talking to people at the New York Post, New York Times, to make sure we're monitoring that they should be exposing any problems he's causing for the Jewish community. The Jewish community is almost 15% of New York City's population, almost 15%. It's a very important constituency. So that's what we're doing. And of course, to help us do it better, I hope people will consider joining ZOA, or go to our website, ZOA.org, ZOA.org. You'll learn about all the things that we're doing with respect to this guy.
What do you make of the fact that the ADL says they're also going to be monitoring him?
Yes. Well, ADL, we have not been happy with their weak stands they've had against terrorism and against Jew hatred and against Islamic anti-Semitism. So I hope they'll help with this. But in the past, they have been a disappointment in fighting for Jewish people and for the Jewish state of Israel.
What other recourse do we have if he's going to try to limit companies, or like, the Israel bonds, they're going to try to stop buying Israel bonds and punish companies that do business with Israel? Is there any legal response that the ZOA or any other groups can be doing?
We're going to be lobbying city council members and urging them to not support this. This has to go through city council. We're going to be urging city council members. Unfortunately, they're quite left-wing in New York, but we're going to try our best with them and with members of Congress to speak out. If people speak out in condemning him, if he's doing these heinous things toward Jews, it'll make it much harder from trying to get it done. And we hope in the election coming up, we hope we'll have somebody winning in 2026 for governor who will be a strong supporter of Israel and the Jewish people.
What about making alliances? As you pointed out, New York is a changing place. I think it's you have over 1 million Muslims. You have, I think, 16% is Chinese. New York has changed. Should we be making alliances with different groups?
You are quite right. Of course, we should make alliances. We've tried. It's not so easy. Some of these groups, the Asian people, have been hostile to Israel. They believed that we meet with their leaders, and they believe the lies of genocide, that Israel's committing genocide. What a lie. It is the Arabs and Hamas that's trying to commit genocide against the Jews. They believe the lies that we stole Arab land. They're trying to steal Jewish land. They believe the lies about famine, that Israel is starving the Arabs, a complete and utter incredible lie. So it's very hard because the media has not pushed back and exposed these lies. They simply reported, that this Arab says there's genocide, and also they keep hearing in the rallies, genocide, 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 and it starts to sink in. Goebbels said, if you repeat a lie often enough, it'll be believed even if it's completely false. Yes, but we're trying to make alliances with non-Jews in the community to help us.
Important. Now, we had a tremendous amount of Jewish unity, Mort, before the election. You had about almost, 1,200 rabbis sign a letter that protesting Mamdani. We had about 75,000 Jews registered to vote. What can we do? We have to keep that unity going.
Too little, too late, Zev. 2 weeks before the election, where were they 2 months ago? Why weren't they doing something 2 months ago? And who? Look, I'm glad they did it, but they did this when lots of the votes had already come in with the mailing ballots. And who was leading this? Somebody who wasn't very fervent. In fact, his name, I forget his name, from one of the big synagogues, Cosgrove.
Rabbi Cosgrove came out from the Park Avenue Synagogue just the other week.
And Elliot Cosgrove, let me tell about Elliot Cosgrove. People asked him to invite me to come and speak at a synagogue. He said, "I'm not inviting Mort Klein until I meet him. You got to look. I don't charge. There's no money here." He comes to my office. This is a few months ago. He said, "People want you to speak. I want to talk to you," and he becomes upset when I tell him I oppose the Palestinian state. He says to me, "I will let you speak at my synagogue if you publicly write an article supporting a Palestinian state." He said, "Otherwise, I won't let you speak there." This is Elliot Cosgrove. I am required to support a Palestinian state, even though the Prime Minister of Israel opposes it, 75% of the Israelis oppose it, and this is the demand he makes. I'll tell you, that demand, the Arabs are thrilled with that demand, right? Hamas and Hezbollah are thrilled with that demand.
So considering that his congregation might be more to the left, so the fact that he opposed Mamdani is a big thing.
No, I don't give any credit for somebody opposing a Jew opposing him. This is a vicious anti-Semite Israel hater. I'm going to give credit for that? I don't think so.
But
no.
look how hard it was. Listen, to get 1,200 signatures of Reform, Conservative, and Orthodox. Orthodox, yes. Conservative and Reform is much more difficult for them to come out and speak.
Jewish people throughout history, including now, are afraid that if we take a stand against our enemies, it'll make it worse. So that is a reason for the fear of signing on to such things. We have just a general fear because of our history of persecution and anti-Semitism and pogroms and Holocausts. We have a great fear. So I'm glad that they came out with this, but it was, as we saw, it was too little, too late. They should have done this months ago. And
the problem is nobody was leading the charge. Somebody has to organize it, and the fact that it took place is a miracle because you need people.
The thing is, Jewish organizations couldn't do this because we are all 501c3 nonprofits. We're not allowed to take a stand supporting or opposing any candidate. That's why I couldn't speak out about it. But the rabbis, the synagogues and churches are allowed to speak out.
That's only of recent vintage that they're allowed to do so.
You know the issues. You are quite right. It's only recent. That's quite right.
And they're not comfortable. I don't think the rabbis yet are comfortable talking politics. That's the impression I have. Maybe it's going to change, but I know it's something which they're approaching cautiously.
How can you be uncomfortable opposing a rabid Jew-hating Israel basher?
Don't get me wrong. I have no problem speaking out. I have, but I'm saying a lot of the rabbis from non-Orthodox synagogues might be reticent to speak out. But I think that's changing, hopefully.
Well, we shall see. This was the time when you had this was a black and white issue. This guy was a monster. And we should have had, you said 1,200. There's 3,500 rabbis in the country. So they only got a third.
Well, what's the start? Because that's amazing they even got this much. Now, let me ask this. Will you be going to the Mamdani Hanukkah party? I'm sure he's going to have a Hanukkah party, but no Israeli Day Parade.
He's publicly said he will not march in the Israeli Day Parade. There's no question he won't have a Hanukkah party.
Oh, I think he will. I think he's making a distinction more between Jewish and Israel. I believe he will have a Hanukkah party, Jewish heritage, but no Israeli Day Parade. And you
will not see me eating any Hanukkah food at his party.
Okay, I'm just. That's my prediction that he's trying to drive that wedge.
Maybe you're right.
And on the right, we're finding listen, Marjorie Taylor Greene also the same thing. She says, "I like Jews, but I don't like Bibi Netanyahu. I don't like what Israel's doing." You're seeing that it's a new trend of anti-Semitism where they're trying to differentiate between Israel and Jews. You can't do it, but they're trying to. This is the new wave.
Well, you have to tell them if you oppose Italy as a state, you obviously hate Italians. If you oppose Mexican, it shouldn't be a Mexican state. Obviously, you hate Mexicans. And if you oppose the Jewish state, obviously you hate Jews. There's no distinctions. To oppose the Jewish state is opposing Jews.
Oh, I agree, but I'm just saying.
By the way, these people who are condemning Israel, do they condemn the Palestinian Authority? They condemn Saudi Arabia, Iran, Qatar. They don't condemn any of these vicious dictatorships with human rights abusers. They don't say a word.
Look at Hamas. Hamas is killing their own people once Israel pulled out. Does anybody say that they're killing innocent Palestinians? Nobody says that.
That's the proof that it's anti-Semitism. That when you only attack, the only country in the world you publicly attack is Israel, when other countries are true human rights abusers, and you say nothing, you're pointing the finger at Israel because it's filled with Jews.
Absolutely correct. Anyway, Mort Klein, National President of the Zionist Organization of America, thank you for joining us.
It's great to be with you. Thank you for having these important programs informing the Jewish people of what's really going on. It's very important, the work that you do, Zev.
Thank you. Also, we got to keep that pressure up. We got to keep us united, and we shouldn't rest our laurels now the election day is over. We got to continue to be unified and to work together.
The fight has only just begun.
Thank you for tuning in to
Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, the pulse beat of the Jewish community.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.